It was May. I believe the year was 2024.
It was 2024, yes.
You were at the Austin Entrepreneurial Summit powered by GoBundance.
Amazing conference, yep.
And I put you on the spot in front of 200 people.
To be honest, I think it was the second time
It was
you
the second.
put me on the spot, but yes.
That was the more aggressive time. Second was the
Yes.
more aggressive time.
Yeah.
And you were quiet quitting in your job. You were running a W-2 while also building a massive real estate portfolio.
I was.
How did you sleep with yourself at night knowing that you were quiet quitting while also doing something on the side?
I felt guilty. Honestly, like if I was my boss at that time, I would have fired myself, right? But it was just, from my perspective, it was just easy money. And at a certain point, do I chase the 100 grand salary or do I give that up and go for the moon? Right? And what I will say is after taking that leap, I think in a matter of 3 to 4 months, I 4x'd my annual income.
But it took you how long to take that leap? I mean, how long have you been talking about it? Years.
I was scared. I was scared out of my mind because I always had the W-2 mindset. I got my bachelor's, I got my master's. I grew up thinking I need to get that 6-figure job at that swanky organization, the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard. Like that was my identity more than anything.
Yeah. And did that come from your parents? Did that come from society? Like where did that come from?
That absolutely came from my parents. My parents were, a white collar, valued education, valued a good job, valued working for a good company, and I always wanted to control my own destiny. And at a certain point, I think in my 30s, that's when I came to the realization that I really have to stop living somebody else's dream and really be living my dream.
Was there a moment that made you realize that? Was there a sequence of moments? Like what made you realize that?
I think what really made me realize that, which I'm sure many of your viewers can relate with, is just reading Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
When I read that book, I literally had tears streaming down my face on, I've literally been living life the wrong way. My mindset has been wrong. The way I approached money has been wrong. I think up to that point, I've used people with money in an evil context, right? And that was kind of inbred in me in society. And I realized after reading that book that people with success, financial, fitness, that comes through discipline and that comes through determination. And ultimately, I wasn't doing that. I was procrastinating. I wasn't living the life I wanted to live. And that was really a crossroad where I had to make a change.
And did you find on this journey that money wasn't evil?
I did. I found on this journey that the more you lean into gratitude, the more you lean into abundance, the more you lean into providing value to the world, the more money comes to you, right? So a lot of times when I'm doing business transactions, I don't really think about how much money I'm making. I think how much value am I creating?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's like a key differentiator. Like the people that I've been fortunate to surround myself with that are successful from a financial perspective, which we all know there's many more definitions to success than just money.
Totally.
But they understand that it's not about the money, it's about the value.
Absolutely.
And the more value you can create, the more money you can receive, which means the more value you can create elsewhere, whether that's shopping, whether that's giving it away, whether that's finding charities. And I think what I've really found is the public eye paints a negative light on most successful people because the system and the government actually want us to follow the status quo, the quo you were following when you were growing up, right? Get a job, go into debt, live off the system, work that job for 40 years, get retirement, if there is still retirement, Social Security there for us. And then you become actually like a product of the system, but you become dependent on the system.
Absolutely.
And you bucked it.
I did. And what I would say is I honestly think, money is modern day slavery. I don't think people realize the control that money has over their life.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't realize that through my entire 30s. And reading that book, I came to the realization that, maybe I had 6 months, maybe I had 12 months of reserves. But if I got fired from that job, I'd have to go crawling back to that job. And that, that reliance on some other thing really kind of, opened my eyes to the possibilities.
Yeah, and I remember standing on stage. You were very vulnerable and brave and stood up, and then I just totally took advantage of that opportunity to put you on the spot. But I remember telling you, what is the worst case scenario? And as you articulated your worst case scenario, it was literally the exact thing you were living. In your W-2 job, working for the man, sacrificing your goals, sacrificing your vision, sacrificing your dreams. And I think one of the ways to really ground ourselves in what risk is or what fear is say, what is the worst thing that can happen? Because so often I find that the worst thing can happen is the exact thing that I'm in right now. And nothing stopped you from, if the real estate thing didn't work, which it's worked, but nothing stopped you from going getting another W-2 or even going back to that same job. Like you left on good terms, I assume.
Yes.
So you call mom or you call dad, you say, hey, I quit. What happened?
They were scared for me.
Were they?
They were scared. They were questioning whether this was the right decision. I was honestly the most successful person in my family from all accounts. But they were worried for me, and from a place of love, right?
Yeah.
I understand, but ultimately, like you mentioned, the status quo is a decision. And I don't think people realize doing nothing is a decision, right? And if your current place in life is where you don't want to be, that is the status quo. And do you want to continue this for 30, 40 more years, or do you want to make a change? And it came at a crossroad. It was a certain point where I was escaping more into vices, and I had to make a decision. Do I want to continue this life and continue this job and escape more and more in vices and the women and the video games and the weed and anything I could do to get me off my mind off of, the life I wanted to live and live in regret, or take a leap? And worst case, like you said, I go bankrupt and I get another job 6 to 12 months later.
So would you say
It's like,
the man you are today is happier, more fulfilled?
I am absolutely happier and more fulfilled. I honestly think I am in flow right now on a daily basis. I mean, don't get me wrong, it comes with its challenges. I mean, with growing a business, you have growing pains, right? But ultimately, I live with way more purpose, and I'm honestly way more happier every single day.
And I think that's important to talk about is like with growing a business or with growing anything comes growing pain. But if it wasn't worth it, there would never be a pain. And so you don't stop when you start to feel pain in your business. You don't stop when you feel pain in working out when you're trying to change your physique. You lean into that pain and that discomfort because you know on the other side of it, that's where the gold lies. So you're working to build this business. Talk to me a little bit about what the business looks like today, but then also tell me where it's going to be 5 years from now.
Absolutely. So this year was a transformational year. We closed on 250 rental units. Currently, as of now, I have about 30 employees that work for me under my property management company and my agent team. We self-manage around 550 of my rental units, and we acquire these units through syndications and joint ventures. Typically, we buy value-add multifamily, 20 to 30% discount on a price per unit basis, go through our value-add strategy, increase the net operating income, suck up the equity, buy more property.
Talk to me a little bit about this value add thing, because I think that's such a buzzword in the world of real estate. Sure. Like, oh, we're going to value add it. And for most people, value add is like new paint, new carpet.
No.
Doesn't work.
No.
So what's your strategy?
I mean, you're attacking value add from two different directions, either the revenue or the expenses, right? So a typical strategy for us would be identify a commercial asset, a multifamily property that has shared utilities, right? Can we put that utilities back in the tenant? Can we install heat pumps? Can we separate the electricity? That's an easy low-hanging fruit, right? Another example of that would be, if you see these outsized units square footage-wise, a 1,200 square foot two-bed, you could easily find one or two more bedrooms in there, increasing the revenue by a couple $100 every single month. Low-hanging fruit, we do that sort of value add all day. Like another simple value add, which a lot of people seem to forget is, if there's extra square footage in your building, right, rather than adding an additional unit, which comes with a lot of regulatory requirements, you can add that square footage to another unit and create bedrooms. So these are the kind of value add strategies we do to really increase the revenue and decrease the expenses.
And then is the goal to hold it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or is the goal to value add it, flip it, sell it?
So wealth in real estate is made through holding. You make wealth in real estate through the other profit levers beyond cash flow. And what I'm talking about is mortgage pay down, forced depreciation, and especially the tax benefits. So my goal is to hold all these assets because I built a majority of my net worth through holding these assets, through not paying taxes, through the amazing amount of equity that I've built that I can leverage to buy more and more and more property. So ultimately, my goal is to either buy and hold it, keep refinancing, or if I'm going to sell, 1031 into a larger asset and do the same exact strategy over and over and over again.
So do you think that more wealth is made in real estate on the hold or on the acquisition?
I think more wealth is absolutely made on the hold, right? And the reason for that is because the wealth in real estate, especially C-class properties, which I buy, is made in the operations.
Yeah.
You could overpay for a property, and if you operate that right, that can turn into a good deal. You could underpay for a property, and if you operate that horribly, it could turn into the worst deal ever.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. Like I've always been a big believer, and I would argue this for 5 hours with you. Wealth in real estate is actually made on the acquisition. Because to your point, if you overpay for an asset, you could manage it right, but in order to acquire it, you knew what your management was going to look like. You had to have a plan when you went in to buy that asset. And I believe one of the things a lot of people have done wrong from, call it 2022 to today where we're sitting, is they didn't pay enough attention to the acquisition. They thought they could value add to get to where they needed to be. They didn't pay enough attention to the insurance increases or the tax increases. And now a lot of these syndicators are about to go belly up unless the banks continue to extend and pretend, which is a real possibility. But unless there's like a miracle or some sort of a Hail Mary from Trump or the banks, a lot of these people are about to lose assets because they bought wrong. And so I think like we're saying the same thing just in different ways. When you're saying that wealth is built in real estate from the hold, you're saying it's built in real estate from the hold because you had the plan as to how you were going to maximize that asset, how you were going to generate your yield, generate your return, or pull all those different levers you had. I think the problem is a lot of people don't recognize that true wealth is actually made when you buy the asset because you have to have a plan when you acquire it. And if you overpay without a plan, you're screwed. If you underpay without a plan, you're screwed. If you pay right without a plan, you're screwed. And so the buying of the asset with a crystal clear plan in place is the most important thing.
I would absolutely agree with that. What I will say is, my experience working with other syndicators, multifamily investors is, yeah, you're exactly right. It's very important to buy right because that could hide mistakes, right? But ultimately, if you're not managing the asset right, which I see time and time and time again, you could turn a great deal into an okay deal.
Yeah.
Right. And when it comes to real estate, everybody says real estate. It's such a broad thing. Like you're probably talking about real estate with cap rates 4 or 5 in Arizona or in the Sun Belt, right? I'm talking real estate in New England with cap rates 8, 9, 10, right? So it's sort of there's sort of different assets within real estate. It's kind of hard to paint a broad brush.
For sure. I mean, there's not only different assets, there's different markets.
Exactly.
The kind of asset you're buying in New England is very different than that same asset here in Austin, Texas.
Yes.
Taxes are very different.
Absolutely.
Tenant base is very different. Yep. Regulatory requirements are very different. And so I think a lot of people listen to podcasts like this and are like, oh my gosh, Andrew Freed said gold. I can manage my way to a successful asset, which is not untrue. And if you buy at the wrong price and don't have a ceiling on your interest rates and don't underwrite increases in insurance, you are quickly going to find yourself that no matter what you do, that asset is not going to be able to support the debt load.
Absolutely.
But to your point, it's all about operations. So when you're building out this business, you're buying all these assets, you're doing it very quickly. Like most people would look at your play and say like, oh, that was what, a 5-year play, a 7-year play? Like, no, that was last year. How do you think about building teams, systems, and then managing those people?
So growing this organization, early on, I ran into this amazing tool called the Culture Index. There's many forums about this. There's personality tests, which more or less, they give you tools to make sure you're hiring the right person with the right skill set and putting them in the right seat, right? Okay. So early on, I hired a consultant to help me implement this software, and it really made me think of business in a completely different way. Just like you're creating a championship sports team, you have to have certain specialties and certain expertise in different positions.
Yeah.
Right. So utilizing that software, I was able to put myself in the QB. I was able to have, offensive linemen. I was able to have wide receivers. And when you're scaling a business, at a certain point, it's not about finding opportunity. It's about hiring talent. Yeah. Because if you hire the right talent, the opportunity will come.
It's all about talent. I mean, we've all heard it time and time again. How much does the wrong hire cost you? Time, money, energy, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there is nothing that I have found that will determine the trajectory of your business more than the people inside of your business running it with you.
Absolutely.
You've got to have the right people in the right seats with the right culture, and that's what creates the opportunities that you've had for you. So what was the first key hire you made?
My first key hire was my operations manager, Cassie. We ended up, my partner had a gym, and she was the operations manager over here. I think he found her on Fiverr, right?
Fiverr?
Fiverr. I found her right on Fiverr. And this woman's living the dream life. She's over in Europe, traveling, working remote, and doing jobs in the United States. So, yeah, she came on board, and she literally built my entire organization. Like, she's this amazing genius that I could just tell her what I want. She'll go, she'll tinker away, she'll come back, she'll have it done. Right? I don't even give her much direction. I just tell her the end result. What do I want? She'll figure it out. So the first thing she did was she built our whole property management company via AppFolio. She then implemented Trello, property management software, to keep all of our staff on track. And she helped hire our entire organization. So in a mere 2 years, we went from, I think, one employee to around 25.
And you leaned on her for all of that.
I leaned on her for mostly everything. Yeah. So, you know, I'm the type of person where I'm a visionary. I'm really good at coming up with the ideas, but I'm not really good at executing it. Right. So I had two key hires who were partners that really came into my business that really allowed me to scale to 500 doors in a couple years. My first partner was Zach Gray, my business partner. He's the integrator. He's the boots on the ground. He's the one that makes sure these stabilization plans come to fruition. And then Cassie is my operations manager, and she builds the structure. You know, I'll come up with a vision. I'll tell her exactly what she wants. She'll build it brick by brick. And then when I come back, it's going to be this beautiful mosaic, right?
And is she still remote?
She is still remote. Yes.
So the only people that are in person are the people that are managing the properties on the ground, or nobody's in person?
I have an array of hires. So I have a lot of people in the Philippines. I have probably 4 or 5 virtual assistants help with leasing agents, executive assistants, marketing specialists. And then I have on-site property managers. I have about 6 of them. I have some administrative property managers, and these are all local. Um, and then I have maintenance techs. I have 2 or 3 maintenance techs, a couple carpenters, which are local. And then Cassie is remote. Yes.
And all of them are W-2, or you do some 1099, some variations of it?
Currently I do a hybrid approach.
Hybrid approach.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then when you're going through building this business, hiring these people, acquiring these assets, how do you think about risk?
How do I think about risk? The way I really think about risk is, you know, whenever I go into any business endeavor, I think about I have to come up with a comprehensive business plan. I have to build in contingencies, and I have to have all the resources up front to get my business plan to fruition within 3 months, right? And I think a lot of people don't manage risk that way. They'll take in this huge value add property and they'll underraise, or they won't have enough money in the operating account, or they won't ask for enough construction money, or they won't build enough contingencies. And then when things go left or right, they throw their hands up in the air, right? But if you come in with a solid plan, you come in with solid contingencies, you come in with the right plan up front, and you plan to hit the ground running in day one, I think that mitigates a lot of risk. And, you know, I think one of the major competitive advantages to me and my partner is we attack business with urgency, right? What it will take other syndicators to do in 12 months, it will take us to do in 6 months.
Do you think at any point that urgency becomes a liability?
It does become a liability in the fact that it pushes our team very, very hard, right? And, you know, we have felt growing pains in that regard because some people can't keep up with the speed, right? So, you know, it has its downsides, but it also has its upsides. Everything in life is a double-edged sword, right? And then I would rather be on the side of getting shit done than be on the other side of the spectrum.
Is that how you look at all things in life, or is that just your business mindset?
No, that's everything in life. I live life with no regrets. I go all into everything. As you can tell, you know, you put me on the spot to quit my W-2. I did. You know,
it took me 2 times, by the way.
It took you 2 times? Yeah. Yes, it did take you 2 times. Yes, but I eventually did it.
That's my fault. I'm not a good salesman.
No, the first time you didn't threaten my beard.
I did not.
You didn't do the right incentives, right?
That's correct.
What's Warren Buffett say? Choose the right incentives. I'll show you the right results.
Yep. That's correct. So that's how you attack everything in life.
Absolutely.
So you went on a pretty crazy health transformation.
I did.
I mean, lost how much weight?
42 pounds.
42 pounds. How much body fat? I mean, like, just crazy results, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 24% body fat to like 12 or 13.
What was the catalyst to get you to go on that journey?
The catalyst to get me to go on that journey was ultimately I was kicking ass in mostly every bucket besides fitness, right? And I kept making goals. I never, moved forward with those goals, right?
Why?
I just made excuses. I always, I leaned into things I was comfortable with. I'm good at business. I'm good at finances. I'm
Mhm.
good at other components of my life, and it didn't come easy to me, right? But at a certain point, I think it was at a Go Abundance event. I saw the results of the previous event, and I think somebody mentioned, I was like, I was told that I always wanted a six pack, right? And I think that program was $10,000, and I asked myself, would I pay $10,000 for a six pack? And the answer to that was yes. I was
Yeah.
like, I might as well do it. So I just jumped in, and in the process of doing it, you know, I I got addicted to the discipline, right? That level of discipline that you need to get in that level of fitness translates to so many components of your life, right? I
Mhm.
think you've experienced this with running marathons, right?
Sure. For sure, man. Like the discipline required to maintain and manage your health, especially in America with the American diet and all of the fast food and all
Yep,
of the easy to access food here,
totally,
it requires some extreme discipline.
absolutely,
But when you change your body, you also change your mind.
yep.
So as you went through this health journey, this transformation, what about you changed?
So many components about me. I mean, first of all, I just love the aspect, this journey of just becoming a hardened freaking warrior. I mean, I just freaking love it, and I love inspiring other people. That's what gets me up at night. That's great. Sorry, that's what gets me up during the day. So I absolutely love it.
Probably keeps you up at night too, by
It
the
kind of
way.
keeps me up at
Yeah.
night too. Yes,
Yeah.
I do have a lot of things on my plate, but I I love my life way more than what it was when I was working my W-2. What were we talking about?
So who did you become on this transformational
Who,
journey? Like how did
who
you
did
change?
the way I changed is I literally changed every aspect of my life. I changed the way I eat. I had to monitor every single thing I put into my stomach. I changed the way I did cardio. I had to monitor my heart rate to ensure I was in the right zone. It's specifically zone 2 for burning fat. I had to go to the gym. Like when I went to the gym, I just went on machines and I just pulled things. I had no intent. I learned to focus on certain areas of my body. I learned to sleep better. I learned that stress feeds into weight loss. There were so many components. It literally changed the entire person I am today.
Would you say that there was any part of you that was holding on to this identity that you weren't healthy that you had to let go of?
I think the thing that really held me back was I think the really thing that held me back was the fact that I didn't even believe I could do it. I've
Mhm.
never been in that shape in my entire life.
Yeah.
I've never had six packs. I've always been, husky. I've never been in shape, and I didn't even think it was possible. Right? Like during doing the program, the thing about hiring a coach, the thing about hiring an expert is they've done this and they have years and years and years and years of experience. And I've learned early on in this financial journey that, when you get advice from experts, lead into it.
Yeah.
Lean into it. Don't ask questions and just do it.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing I learned. And I just did it. I didn't ask any questions. I just did exactly what he told me to do day in and day out.
I think it's really important though to identify you were given a label growing up of husky.
Yeah.
Like otherwise that word would not have come out of your mouth, right? Somebody somewhere said he's husky. Like people labeled me as stocky. Like, oh, he's just stocky, right? Husky is another great word for it, right? But you had that label. And so your entire life you've lived with that label, but you've also lived with that limiting belief of like, I don't know if I can get that healthy. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I am capable of that. But once you broke down that barrier, you realized that was just a story you told yourself or a story that other people told you that you didn't have to carry anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where else in your life have you had these stories and how have you let them go?
Um, you know, I so in this journey that this 4-year journey went from 0 to 500 doors. I became financially free. I quit my W-2. I definitely went inward, and I really had to come face to face with a lot of my demons, right? And one of the ways I did this a lot was with some plant medicine. I went down to Peru for a week. I went to the Amazon rainforest. I went with some shaman, and I really had to look inward, right? And ultimately, I think it all comes down to you know, just wanting to be loved, right?
Mhm.
And I just came to the realization that the more value I provide to the world, the more the world will love me back, right? And that's been my guiding principle, and that's really helped me build this empire today.
Do you love yourself?
I do love myself. I do love myself. I love the person I am today. I love the fact that I don't live with any regrets, and I can confidently say right now that if I died, I would die happy.
You go down to the Amazon with the shamans.
Yep.
Did that version of you love themselves?
That version of me did not love myself. That version of me had all those limiting beliefs. That version of me didn't have the confidence to do what I do today, right? If you tried to throw my 5, 10-year-old self into what I do on a daily basis, I would burn and I would fail.
Yeah.
Right.
What's fascinating about that from my perspective, just hearing your story, which thank you for being vulnerable, is you were seeking love and approval from others that you didn't even know how to give to yourself.
It's true.
So how can
It's
you get
true.
it from anybody else
Absolutely.
if you can't even give it to
Totally.
yourself?
And to your point, one of my intentions going down there, going into one of these experiences, was I wanted to be best friends with myself. Because how many times do you just say horrible, horrendous things to yourself in your head? Like, would you say that to anybody you loved?
Yeah.
So why do you say that to yourself? You should be kind to yourself. You should be loving to yourself, right? Because ultimately, you need the support to really live the life you want to live.
Yeah, I had a very similar moment in my life, not in Peru, not with the shamans, but where I recognized that I was talking to myself in a way that I wouldn't talk to anybody else. And I'll never forget, David Osborne pulled me aside and he's like, look, I had to learn the same lesson, but let me ask you a question. You have a newborn baby. Would you talk to her that way? It's like, no. It's like, so why the hell would you talk to yourself that way?
Yeah.
And that was the moment I realized that our mind is like a garden. What we water grows. You water the weeds are going to take off. The weeds grow by themselves without water. You don't need to help them. But if you water the plants and you weed the garden, now all of a sudden you can have your mind be this beautiful, safe space for you to feel confident and comfortable inside of your own self. And once you do that, then you can actually start seeking approval, love, and acceptance from other people.
Absolutely. Thought is the coin of heaven. One of
Yeah.
my favorite quotes.
Thought is the coin of heaven. What does that mean to you?
Thought is the coin of heaven. Mean all creation comes from thought. All destruction comes from thought. Everything that exists in this world comes from thought. This table would not exist. This mic would not exist. You would not exist.
That's right.
Without
my
thought.
dad had a lot of thoughts that night. But I think you're spot on, right? Like so much of what we see on a daily basis is to try to manipulate our thoughts. I read recently that we see over 10,000 ads a day. I mean, you think about it. You go on Facebook, you're seeing ads. You go on Instagram, you're seeing ads. You pull up the Wall Street Journal, you're seeing ads. You drive to the ranch, you're seeing restaurants and billboards and ads, right? How do you make sure that your thoughts stay clean in this world full of noise and other people's agendas?
Being indistractable is an absolute superpower that not many people have the ability to do. And it's no fault of their own. There's so much media and things coming your way, social media, for example. So one tactic I utilize is, first of all, I take all social media off my phone. I'm a content creator. I'm not a content user. Like, that's number one.
Yeah, you're a creator, not a consumer.
Exactly. But what I do every single day is, I literally go to a cafe. I'll go somewhere quiet. I'll write 3 things I'm grateful for, and then I'll write, what can I do today to create my 10-year, 5-year, 1-year vision of the person I want to become, the life I want to live, right? And I do that every single day, right? And literally just the act of writing it down, it gets done. I literally don't even look at my list again that entire day, but it just magically gets done because there's intention behind that, right? And ultimately, it all comes down to intention, right?
Yeah. Do you think that this superpower of not being distracted,
Which I have ADHD, so it took me some, which I do, but it took me some time to figure out.
that just answers the question. So this is a superpower that can be learned,
Absolutely,
that can be groomed. It's a muscle that can be built.
totally.
How long did it take you to build it?
Oh my God, it took me my entire 20s up to my 30s, and what I would say is I always had dreams of being an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be my own man, but I always had these great ideas, and then I just procrastinated and didn't do and took no action and made excuses, right? And, I think after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I came to the realization that, like, I only have one life. Do I want to live in regret, or do I want to leave everything on the table?
Yeah, what's fascinating for me about this is I was recently listening to Chris Williamson's podcast,
Mm.
arguably one of the best podcasts, and he had Matthew McConaughey on, arguably one of the best
Oh,
storytellers to ever obviously be on a podcast.
absolutely.
And they were talking about this idea of studying the result, not the rise. And I think people listening to this would be like, man, I'd love to own 500 units. Like, man, look at Andrew's life. It's so epic. He's doing what he wants, when he wants, with a six pack. Like, gosh, I want that life. But the real gold in your journey is if people study the rise.
Mm.
The how did you get through your 20s? How did you get through your 30s? How did you recognize that you needed this superpower, that this muscle had to be groomed and grown and given attention to? And when we study the rise, then we can actually start to learn from how we can implement those things in our lives, right? It's
Mm.
easy for you, real estate guy. I'm sure you were studying like the Brandon Turners of the world and looking up to the David Osborns, like these people with these giant real estate portfolios. But their result doesn't teach you anything. Yes, it shows you what's possible, but you don't see the trials, you
Yep.
don't see the tribulations, you don't see the failures, you don't see the hard days, you don't see the good days. And so when you're looking at Andrew Freed 7.5 or whatever version you're going to next, who are you studying? Who are you learning from? Who are you emulating? Who are you copying?
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. You know, have you ever read this book, Peaks and Valleys?
Yeah.
Fantastic
Yeah.
book. And what you're really referring to is studying the valley,
That's right.
right? Studying the low points, because everybody can see the high points, but the low points is what created the hardened diamond to
And-
get you to who you are today.
And what I'm saying is, don't just study the valley. Study from valley to peak.
Mm.
And once they get to peak, you don't need to study them anymore, because if you study from valley to peak and learn from that journey and implement it in your life, which is a big step that most people miss. They think, oh, I studied it, now it's just going to happen, like Field of Dreams. But if you look at the valley and then study their ascent up the mountain to the quote unquote peak, whatever that is for
Absolutely.
that person, that's where the gold lies.
You know, I'm really thankful because growing up, I had a really, really tough childhood. Nobody would assume I would be the person I am today. You know, I had no friends. I had ADHD. I was hopped up on Adderall. I just escaped in the video games. Literally, I don't think I had a friend until I was like 12,
Wow.
right? So I had a really lonely childhood growing up. You know, and over time, I weaned myself off Adderall. I ended up doing better in school, right? But I'm super thankful for that time, right? Because I'm just thankful that I had the valley so young that the peak would just could happen in my 20s and my 30s, and I could really live this life today. Because a lot of people it literally takes them to their middle age to hit the valley, and at that point, time's not to their advantage.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're at a young age, you got no friends, you're lonely, probably felt like you were different, didn't fit in,
Suicidal at that point.
suicidal. Who helped you get through those moments?
I had a loving mother. She definitely helped me get through those moments. And then I did develop some friendships in high school that I have today that they did help me get out of that funk, and they gave me the confidence to become the person I am. And eventually in high school I became the captain of some of my sports teams. I've started to have a little bit of success, and kind of iterated from there until, my 30s when I kind of started I had that hockey stick effect.
So mom was crucial in the journey.
Absolutely. I love my mother. I'm actually taking her to Machu Picchu this year. I took her to Hawaii last year. Yeah, she's my rock. I love her very
And do you
much.
have any siblings?
I have two other siblings.
And what are they like?
They are very supportive. I'm the youngest.
Okay.
And both of them have definitely, I mean, they're amazing people, have amazing families. They definitely have the W-2 mindset for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Which I think it's important to note. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many times I talk to people who are successful entrepreneurs like yourself, and it's like, they're bad, I'm good. And in reality, without people like your siblings who have the W-2 mindset, you don't have a business, because those are the kind of people that are working for you.
Totally.
Those are the kind of
Yeah,
people that are in the trenches with you, right?
You need worker bees. You need
And-
worker bees.
And I think it's important to note that if you have a W-2 mindset, there's nothing wrong with you. It's okay. You can still have a beautiful, abundant, amazing life. And when I think about your childhood growing up, right, there was probably nothing wrong with you. Yeah, you had ADHD or whatever label they tried to throw at you at that time, and they gave you a bunch of medication that probably changed your personality, that made you feel less confident and less secure. But there was nothing wrong with you. You were just different, and different's okay.
Well, what was really different was my thought, right? It just went down negative rabbit holes. I was just not confident. And it took me a very, very long time to realize how much my thought had effect on my external world.
And probably a long time to realize those thoughts weren't thoughts you were born with. They were given to you by other people, other scenarios, other teachers, other parents. And all of a sudden you heard that, and then you took it and kept it inside. And I think it's really a fascinating thing to think about, which is, thoughts are everything, right? Like you talked about earlier. But thoughts also come from others. What people say to us, what people do to us, help us develop a thought pattern. So while you're leading teams, while you're raising families, while you're doing whatever you're doing, I think it's very important to pay attention to the words you use and the things you say and the way that those words can carry weight that you don't even recognize.
And who you listen to and who you take advice from, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has one of my favorite quotes of all time, which is, I would never take criticism from somebody I wouldn't take advice from. It's like, if that guy's going to criticize how I play quarterback in the NFL, would I hire him to be my quarterback coach? No. Then why would I even listen to a word he has to say?
Totally.
So back to this question of, you've gotten to where you are now, next version of you. Who are you studying? Who are you emulating? Who are you learning from? Who are you modeling off of?
So one of the reasons I love GoBundance, for many reasons, but there's so many kick-ass entrepreneurs within GoBundance that you could literally find somebody who's 1 year ahead of you, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and I can emulate people within GoBundance that are at different levels of me at my stage in my journey, right? So that's a great resource that I absolutely have leaned on. People within the organization at GoBundance, literally a 5-minute piece of advice literally made me $500,000.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, that's definitely one bucket I'm leaning on. I'm also leaning very much into the Tony Robbins. He is the guru of gurus. He has literally compiled all the best personal development, self-help knowledge in a really concise and effective manner. And I'm really leaning into that. So I think this year I'm going to be doing his Date with Destiny. I'm going to be going to Fiji and doing his health and wellness mastery. I just, to your point, there's always more things you can learn and get better at. And I think that's ultimately the journey in life, is just to be a better version of yourself every single day.
GoBundance is a community of over 800 high performers, entrepreneurs, and investors with a combined net worth of over $5.7 billion. But look, it's not just about the money. We're about building lives of abundance. If you're ready for a tribe that challenges you to achieve a higher standard for yourself, visit GoBundance.com/tribe. That's GoBundance.com/TRIBE to apply today. You really understand, like, your tribe, the 5 people you spend the most time with, is ultimately going to determine your destiny more than anything. If you surround yourself with people that are aspiring, that are climbing, that are striving to be better men, better husbands, better fathers, better humans, naturally you're going to become that too. And you found ways to put yourselves in rooms, whether it's Tony Robbins paying for Date with Destiny or joining GoBundance, you found ways to put yourself in those rooms, to be around those people that can help inspire you, pull you, motivate you, educate you, whatever word it is, to the next level that you are seeking in your life.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring up a good point, and the one real catalyst that helped me exponentially grow to the business I have today is I found a mentor very early on. His name is John Bombachi, and he was in my market doing exactly what I wanted to do, except the only exception was he had hundreds of doors, right? So what did I do? I found a way to provide value to him in the form of being an agent on his brokerage, in the form of bringing him wholesale deals, in the form of bringing him opportunity. But that resulted in him taking me under his wing, right? And then 3, 4, 5 years later, he's my mentor. Like, lo and behold, I have a couple hundred units, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, you're the average of the 5 people you associate yourself with.
But it's also, you recognized that service was the Trojan horse to knowledge.
Absolutely.
The only way to get him to give you the time of day, because he had hundreds of units and you were just this aspiring real estate investor, was to find a way to serve him.
Yep.
And when you were an agent on his team and when you brought him wholesale deals and you helped him make more money, what does he want to naturally do?
Help me.
Return the favor.
Yeah. I mean, people don't understand that reciprocity is a freaking spell.
Yes.
Right? Like, if I provide endless value to day after day after day. Then I call you for some help. Like, you're obviously got to help me. It would literally be weird if you didn't.
Yes. It's the law of reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it doesn't always show up the way we think. Like, oh, I helped him with this thing. Now I
Sure.
need something. Like, it doesn't always show up that way.
course.
But generally speaking, from the law of averages, the law of reciprocity says that when I serve, I
Yeah,
too will
yeah.
be served.
Exactly. And I'm not going into a transaction like, I'm helping you because I expect you to help me later. I just provide good to the world.
Yes.
And then when I need help, I reached out to somebody who will help me. And I ended up providing good to them. They want to help me.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think the importance of having a mentor cannot be talked about enough. I mean, it's mentors that have helped me along on my journey. It's mentors that have bet on me, believed in me, poured into me. But the other thing I think a lot of people discount is like, oh, I can't get a mentor. Nobody will talk to me. I don't know how to serve that person. In the world we live in today, we have YouTube, we have podcasts, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, although it might be still controlled by the Chinese, but we have all these things, right?
Mhm.
There is so many ways to adopt a mentor that you never actually meet, that never actually meets you. You can study them, you can learn from them, you can
Absolutely.
see how they speak, you can see how they think, and you can adapt all of those things. So this whole notion of like having a mentor, I think, is one of the magic bullets of life. But so many people say like, I don't know how to do it, I can't do it. Like, the reality is you got to really want to do it, because if you want to find a mentor, you can find a mentor for anything.
Absolutely.
I mean, Tony Robbins is a mentor of yours now, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's not saying Tony's going to pick up the phone and be like, hey, Andrew, how are you? But you are consuming the information he is sharing. You're applying it to your life, and therefore he is a mentor.
Absolutely.
And people discount how easy it is,
Yes, absolutely.
but they discount how easy everything is because it requires a choice, which for most people is very hard.
I mean, everybody knows what it takes to get a six pack. Nobody does it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, knowledge isn't power. Action with knowledge is power.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And I think, listening to conversations like this, people will recognize that knowledge is one thing, action is everything. Like, without action, you don't have 500 doors. Without action, you don't find that operations manager that can build a business. Without action, you don't get out of the rut or the funk you were in as a young child and find your way, find your people, find your calling. Like, action is everything. So as you move forward through 26, 27, move down your life, what actions are you trying to take?
So my 10-year goal is I want to help 10,000 people reach financial independence. I want to syndicate 10,000 doors, actively own 500 rental units, travel to 100 countries, be 185 and feel amazing, and start a family. Those are my ultimate goals. What I would say is I seem to hit my goals very quickly. So once I hit them, maybe I'll come up with new goals in 5 years. I don't know, but that's where it's at right now.
Yeah, it goes back to this concept of the arrival fallacy, right? And I just literally wrote a newsletter on this: arrival fallacy plus the Cheshire Cat, which the Cheshire Cat is the Alice in Wonderland cat, right?
Okay.
And if you remember the movie Alice in Wonderland, she comes to this fork in the road and she asks the cat, where should I go? Where do I go? And he says to her, well, that purely depends on where you want to go. Because if you don't know where you want to go, it doesn't matter which way you go.
Totally.
And what I find very powerful is when I asked you that question, you didn't just rattle off like, oh, I want to own a big real estate portfolio, I want to do this. Like, you rattled off specific numbers, specific targets that you plan to hit. And so you have that vision in mind. How long did it take you to craft that vision, though?
I crafted that through the book Vivid Vision.
Yeah.
Right. I created a 10-year vision of what I dreamed, what my life would look like on a daily day basis, and then I simply reverse engineered to what that would look like. Right.
Yeah.
And ultimately, personal goals are great, but I've gotten the most satisfaction from providing impact and helping others.
Yeah.
So I think I would like to lean more into that. I mean, ultimately, I'm at that point where I am financially free. And what really drives me is, I love building things and I love providing impact and helping others.
Yeah. And that's proof in how you answered the question. The first thing you said, help 10,000 people get financially free. So it's clear to me that that's your passion. That's your purpose. Then the question is just, how do you do it?
Yeah.
And you've obviously got a plan or it wouldn't be on the goals.
Yep.
So my last question for you is, where are you most flirting with disaster in your life?
Where am I most flirting with disaster? I would probably say relationships and in romantic relationships. Business comes easy to me. Now fitness comes easy to me after I put got the discipline down. Relationships and dating doesn't come easy to me. So I've gone on dates unsuccessfully, and I will continue to work on that. So maybe I'll hire a coach, read some books, kind of lean into that bucket this year.
Why do you think it's not been successful for you?
It's like the way I describe it is like it's like dating David Goggins. Like I'm too much sometimes, you know. I go at it, you know,
Yeah.
and so I'm an intense personality.
Yeah. An acquired
I'm
taste.
an acquired taste, yes.
Husky?
A
Is what-
husky.
Can't believe you who gave you that?
I don't know. I don't even know where that came from.
It had to have come somewhere. Like, you know, it's like, that's crazy. But yeah, I think it just goes to show that when people are listening to this, they might think you have it all figured out. You've got it all together. You got the health, you got the financial freedoms, you're happy, you're taking mom to Machu Picchu, but still you are flirting with disaster. You're finding ways to grow, finding ways to improve in areas that you are not strong today. And what I think is powerful is the first thing you said is hire a coach, read some books. It's going back to the knowledge, because without the knowledge, it's hard to take the action. But with the knowledge and the action, with that intense personality, the result should be pretty easily achieved.
Unstoppable.
So people listening to this are like, man, I want to hear more about what he's up to. I want to be a part of those 10,000 he makes financially free. Where can they find you? Where can they learn more?
They can find me at Andrew Freed on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or at Investor Freed on Instagram. I host local meetups in the New England area to help other people reach financial independence. So if you're in the area, come check out some of my meetups. It's a great time, and it's completely free.
Look, man, I had a really fun time hanging out with you today. I've known you for a long time. It's been an honor to watch you on your journey, to watch you take action toward the life you had, to let go of seeking acceptance and approval from other people, and to bring that for yourself first and foremost, which I think was ultimately what kept you in UW2 more than anything, but that's my opinion. And I really had a lot of fun watching you drive the tractor and feeding some Longhorns today. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you so much. And no, I just personally want to thank you, Matt, because you really helped me get the confidence to really leave my W-2. And ultimately, I wouldn't have done it without your push, right? And what that has caused me to provide so much impact to the world. That has provided so much financial abundance to me. And that has provided so much time freedom that I am just immensely grateful to you,
Yeah.
Matt. So I just wanted to thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. Like I like to think one of the superpowers I have is I see the greatness in other people. And I put you on the spot for a reason, because I had seen you multiple times with the same story and the same narrative. I'm like, man, this guy has an opportunity to choose greatness. He just needs to be shown that there's no other way. And who would have thought threatening a man to cut off his beard was the easiest way to do it?
I was frightened.
You're right. Look, man, I appreciate you being here. Thanks again.
Thank you.